Pirates classically sing shanties while they're sailing together, and we wanted to put instruments in a way that is light-hearted and fun and fits the tone. We wanted instruments that were pirate-themed.
And we wanted like a bunch of different types of instruments, like percussion instruments and strings, so that when you all play them together as a crew, it felt like you were a band. One of the most memorable experiences for me was probably when we're all sailing into battle and we're all playing Ride of the Valkyries while trying to catch up to another ship. That was pretty cool.
And the closer you get to another ship, you're just going to hear that music getting louder and louder. So it allows players to create their own soundtracks and influence the mood of the crew. For example, playing a really spooky song when night falls and you're entering like a misty area. So if someone's already playing a shanty with the hurdy-gurdy and I start playing my concertina, I'll dynamically join in with what they're playing.
Yeah, it's a really cool moment, and that fun kind of really bonds the crew together.
Our philosophy when designing the ship was focused on creating compelling cooperative mechanics that could bond players together, but do so in a really intuitive and immersive way. Working together and sailing the ship cooperatively just feels completely natural. So a great example of that is the wind in the game, which is this dynamic force within the world that players can take advantage of by raising and lowering their sails and angling them into the wind. Our goal with the ship's cannons, much like the other features in the game, was to make it really immersive. So we consciously avoided things like crosshairs on screen because we wanted you to feel like you were on the deck right there in the action. We've had so many great play sessions at Rare where we've been adventuring on an island, we've seen another ship, we've all dashed back, we've got on the anchor together, we've worked together on the sails to angle them into the wind, and it's moments like that where you're all working together, where you really feel like you are part of a crew.
Quite early on, we realized that we had to do something pretty special in terms of the clouds, and we knew that we wanted these kind of very fluffy, very painterly kinds of clouds in the world, which of course is quite a challenge because in 3D we're very good at drawing polygons and we're very good at drawing solid shapes. We're less good at drawing fluffy things. Our clouds are actual 3D objects, which you can stick up in the sky and it'll be all fluffy and lovely and cloud-like. And you can have clouds looking like pirate ships, like skulls, and you can do all these kinds of things to them, which I don't think anyone has really done in terms of clouds, certainly not in the way we've done them. Whichever way you look out from your ship, you just see the most beautiful kind of picturesque skies. I think there was one article which described it as Turner skies, which I'm very, very proud of.
When we're talking about visual effects in games, we normally mean particles. That's what we're using to create all of the cannon effects, for example, like the different explosions. You want to give the player strong feelings when they're playing the game. So when they're shooting the cannons, it should feel powerful, and you're seeing the cannonball trailing over, and then boom, it's impacting on the other ship. The attention that we're spending on the water, for example, sailing. You want to sail away to the sunset and you're seeing the water spraying around, and it should just feel like you're really part of this beautiful world. And this kind of physically grounded system, it makes it possible for us to react to different types of weather and different types of situations, and it's really been a pleasure to work with. All told, it's really about making everything sit together to give the player an amazing experience in the end. I mean, that's what it's all about.
I think the thing with the Hurdy is I had the least expectations with it when I started out. I think it's sort of fair, it's pretty expressive, I suppose. The kind of vibrato and stuff you can put on there and all that noise you can add into it, I can almost get more emotion out of the Hurdy, which I didn't expect. When you play the Hurdy in game, this is the Hurdy you're playing, kind of. So things like the bass line, that's all I can do on the Hurdy. It's just a drone string. So it's quite a bit of cheating, but that's what, unless you're going to write tunes up, just have one note that go all the way through it, it's not going to be a lot of use. As long as it's believable that it exists in that universe, then it's okay. I'm not trying to be sort of historically accurate or anything. You just want it to be believable, and it still sounds gnarly, out of tune, but also carry a tune. Do you want to stop it?
So we've got kind of two big systems that are working together, the ship system and the water system. So where those two come together and they meet, we have to then make a bunch of tech that kind of handles all those situations. With the anchor put down, you are still gently rocking. So we've got sort of a few creaks that play in those sort of conditions. As the sails come down and the capstan raises, you have bow wash emitters that can spray bow, and then you've got a general wash of just water displacement. We've also got kind of a wake sound as well coming out the back of the boat. And obviously we need to affect those as we go through the ship. So as you travel from the sort of top of the crow's nest all the way down to the depths of the ship, you kind of get an audio journey. Putting all those together is no mean feat. We take so much time and care and effort to get it right because it gets you in the world, it just makes you live and breathe that kind of pirate dream.
So originally we didn't want the skeletons to be similar to the pirates. We wanted them to be scary and kind of raw looking. We initially started looking out at stuff like Ray Harryhausen just because of the way that he animated the claymation, the way it moves, it always looks a little bit more scary than the kind of digital stuff you get. Initially we had like a blocked out model, so we didn't have the final piece, but we started to do animation tests. So we tried to look at them being broken and slightly like their limbs didn't quite work. And so when you see them kind of standing, they're kind of like in this kind of pose and they claw-like, and like they're always asymmetrical, so they always look a bit off kilter and a bit kind of a bit eerie, really. Some of the kind of motions we want them to do is like coming out of the ground, running at you, this kind of surprise. It was a bit of a challenge doing that, but it's kind of a fun challenge. That's kind of what you want as an animation. You want to inject some personality into the characters you're doing, and I think the skeletons kind of allowed us to do that.
The challenge of creating Outposts is creating a good composition, make it kind of clear where the player has to navigate. It usually starts with a design requirement. Obviously, they're going to want an outpost in a particular sea. That will go to concept and they'll work with the art director. They'll produce a concept image, which will come to someone like me, who will turn it into a rough blockout, which is kind of like a low-res version, which design will look at and approve. We'll take that in Unreal, sculpt the terrain so that it's got all the right height, paint terrain layers on it so it's got all the right surfacing. And then we'll bring in assets to build the scene. So we'll add in buildings and rocks and trees, all that good stuff. And I'll work it up into the full game experience. The outposts are a really important part of our game, and we spend a lot of time handcrafting them so that they're the best experience they can be.